Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe and this is episode 42. Today we are going to talk about one of my favourite things, takeaways. Takeaways come up a lot. People build takeaways up to be this big, huge thing when it comes to weight loss. They are, really high in calories, forbidden, you lack control around them, feel awful after them. It can then lead to follow-up behaviours and a series of unhelpful decisions. Maybe if you have one on a Friday night, you end up eating in a similar way right through to Sunday night or Monday morning. They're a big deal to many people. I posted on Instagram a little while ago about this, and it was just to give some insight into really what actually happens. So I work with hundreds of people on a monthly basis, a weekly basis probably. So I hear lots of different things, I read lots of different things, people tell me lots of things. So I've heard numerous variations of people saying that they feel bad after a takeaway, in some shape or form. So, takeaways, I don't know why I keep ordering takeaways. They always leave me feeling bloated. I always feel sluggish, always feel lethargic. I always wake up the next day feeling yucky, and various things to that effect. And the thing is, just to completely ruin takeaways for you, what is a takeaway? When you absolutely boil down to it, what is a takeaway? It is food cooked somewhere else, delivered or brought to your door. Delivered or collected. So delivered to your door or collected from the takeaway place, whatever it might be. That's it. That is all it is. It's not anything special. It's not anything miraculous. It's not anything that you need to put up on a pedestal. It is simply food that you aren't cooking. And that's it. But we generate so much excitement around these things. We might spend a couple of days thinking about it. We might be texting back and forth with our partners talking about the Chinese that we're going to get or the pizza that we're going to get. And just building up to be something that it really doesn't need to be. And that's part of the problem. Because we build it up so much, we create so much excitement around it. Takeaways aren't cheap. The portions can tend to be quite big. If you're anything like my wife, who is a grazer, and you want to try everything, you can't just get a little bit of everything. You have to order a full portion of it. So if you want to, I don't know, what's an example? Let's use my wife as an example, right? My wife she'd like a bit of pizza, she'd like a bit of chicken pakora, she'd like some chips and cheese, and what else? I don't know. But, that's enough to be getting on with, right? Basically 3, I'm not going to call chips and cheese a main meal, but 3 large portions of high-calorie foods. You can't just get a little bit of each, you get all of it. Now, that's all right. If, like us, you're a family of 4 and the kids are going to share the pizza and my wife and I will share the pakora and the kids will share the chips and cheese, we could get those 3 things and the 3 of us could probably share the 3 of them, right? That's not an issue. But when it comes to people ordering takeaways for themselves or just for them and their partners, and they want to order multiple things, and that's where we can start to run into problems. So takeaway food, like I said, all it is food cooked by someone else somewhere else. The way that you feel after takeaway food has nothing to do with the food itself. Absolutely nada. The way that you feel after a takeaway comes down to, let's say, 2 things. The first one is the way that you think, right? It's to do with your mindset around takeaways. So many people believe that takeaways are a bad food or they're junk, crap, rubbish, unhealthy, etc. And when you eat, and you know that, we've spoke about this before in other episodes, but the reason that people describe foods like this is to try and help them manage their behaviour around it. If I paint an awful enough picture of this thing, that will put me off eating it, or it will put me off eating it frequently. But all it does is ruin it for you, because now here you are with this Chinese takeaway in front of you that you have said is junk, crap, rubbish, bad, unhealthy, etc., and you're about to eat it. Now, how do you think you are going to feel when you eat that food? You are not going to feel wonderful about making what you believe to be a bad choice, an unhealthy choice, eating junk, crap, etc. So that's part one, right? Part one is your mindset around it. You can't fully enjoy this thing because you've painted this terrible picture of it. So yes, it was exciting. Looking at the menu was fun. Placing the order was great. Watching the app update you to let you know what's happening next, and now it's on its way, and now we're cooking it. Now it's on its way. It will be there. Blah blah blah. And the door goes, and you've got the plates ready, and the cutlery's ready, and you get it in the kitchen. You can smell it, and you open all the containers, and oh, look at all this. And before it's even out of the containers, you're dipping your fork into this and into that, and you're trying this. So that's part one, right? Part two is our behaviour. So part one is our mindset, part two is our behaviour, and our mindset influences our behaviour, because now you have this expensive feast sitting in your kitchen, and if you are the type of person that thinks you are the solution to food waste, i.e., food waste does not go in a food waste bin, you are the food waste bin, then you're going to feel obliged to eat all of it. If you are someone who clears every plate and you put out a large portion size, then you're going to probably overeat. And then if these containers are left lying out, so let's say you takeaways, like, people kind of tend to want to eat takeaways in front of the TV. I don't know what it is. It's just a meal that we treat differently. So you load up your plate with all your stuff. You go sit in front of the TV. You eat mindlessly because 90% of your attention, 95% of your attention's on the TV. 5%'s on the act of eating, because you can do that with your eyes shut. And you've finished it. You've cleared your plate, but all this stuff is still lying in the kitchen. The containers are all still lying out. They're all on the worktop. So when you take your plate back, you dip your fork back into that curry and eat another bit of chicken and a bit of sauce. Or you grab a bit of naan bread and load it up with some sauce because it was delicious. Or you might even go back for seconds. Maybe you take your plate back and put more on it. So the way that we feel after takeaways, it's nothing to do with the food. It's just food cooked by someone else, somewhere else. Yes, it might be different to what you usually have, but that's not the reason that you feel the way you do. If you have physically overeaten, then you are going to feel like shit. It does not matter if you do that with a takeaway or if you do it with your own dinner that you've cooked yourself. If you overeat, you will feel tired, sluggish, lethargic, bloated. If this is a takeaway that you're having later on at night, you will probably wake up the next morning still feeling the after effects of all that food that's still lying in there, the extra calories that are now kicking around in your body in storage, waiting to be used, making you feel rubbish. Yeah, it's not a nice feeling. So it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a pizza, fish and chips, Chinese food, or a home-cooked meal. We generally don't act the same way around the food that we cook in the house, because we don't think, if I order a takeaway, it's like 30 quid to feed the four of us every time. And if I was someone, obviously I'm conscious of the expense of things, but I'm also not someone that thinks I am a food bin. If there is genuine food waste, as in there's not anything that can be kept or be frozen or go away in the fridge for a later date, then it goes in where it's supposed to, in the food the food bucket. But the expense can play quite a large role in the way that we act. If you cook your dinner, you don't stack the tubs up on top of one another and put them to the side in the kitchen, because when you do that, you're creating the expectation that you are going to go back and finish that at some point. Maybe you have an early dinner. I don't know what early for you might be. My co-coach Louise always tells me that my dinner's super early because she eats at 7 and 8 p.m. and I eat at 5 p.m. with the kids. But you might be someone that has an early dinner around 4 or 5 p.m. So you have this takeaway then. And then, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, when maybe it's starting to wear off and you feel like you could fit more in again, you go back and you have more. Yeah, ultimately, it all boils down to our behaviour changes around takeaways because of how we think and feel about them, because of the picture that we create or the picture that we paint around them. There's also another thing as well where I think I've got a feeling I might have spoke about this in another episode, but there's also this other thing where we can use takeaways positively and negatively. So to give you an example of what a positive takeaway might be, I'm not a great example of this. I always use myself as an example because it's easy. But we will generally eat out or have a takeaway once a week. Gusto Monday to Thursday. I'll have dinners planned over the weekend, but at least one night or one day we will go out for something to eat, or we'll get a takeaway one night. Now that is an example of a positive takeaway because it's something that we regularly do. It's part of our plan, and we're doing it for positive reasons. A negative takeaway would be, for example, getting to the end of the day, coming home and I've had a terrible day. I can't be arsed cooking. I'm not standing at a cooker for an hour fucking doing this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get a takeaway. And you're using that kind of negative reinforcement as justification for ordering a takeaway. A lot of that comes from how someone views a takeaway. It's like if someone doesn't give themselves unconditional permission to eat, then they have to find conditional ways of allowing themselves to eat something. So when we talk about, I should do another episode about this, but when we talk about unconditional permission to eat, it's where we eat without any conditions attached. So an example of that might be, I'm going to go out for dinner, but first I'm going to go to the gym so that I can enjoy my dinner tonight. That's conditional permission to eat. You don't allow yourself to enjoy a meal unless you've exercised first. Or conditional permission to eat might be, I'd really like some chocolate, but I can't have that during the day. I only have that at night. So it's when we create conditions and rules attached to the way that we eat or the foods that we eat. Unconditional permission is the complete opposite of that. So if you are using your hard day at work, your tough time with the kids, your tiredness, your whatever, as justification for doing something, it's not going to work out well. And this is where the negative reasons come into it. So I bet most of you listening to this have ordered a takeaway, eaten it, and after it, questioned yourself. Why did I even eat that? I didn't even want that. I didn't even enjoy that. You just did it. Used to happen to me all the time. I used to eat in my early 20s, early to mid 20s. I used to eat takeaways, 4-5 times a week, easily. And there were times then where it was just a habit. It became the norm. Cooking at home wasn't the norm. Just Eat wasn't around back then, but phoning up the takeaway. God, remember when you had to phone takeaways? I used to hate that. As an introvert who does not like having to talk to people face to face. I don't mind doing this. I love doing this. I just don't enjoy conversations much. I used to hate doing that. Anyway, the point there was, I went through many occasions like that where you would finish off whatever it is and sit there full, because back then I was all about the expense. I was all about, I don't waste food. I clear every plate. If I used to order these munchie boxes. I remember when they first came out, because I was still living with my mum. These munchie boxes came out, which was a 10-inch pizza box filled with, this was back when they were good, when they were not 50% chips. They were like 50% doner meat, 25% chips, 25% pakora. And I used to sit there, and this was also back when I used to have terrible eating habits, like eating very quickly and eating mindlessly. I knew that if I eat this thing quick enough, I'll be able to eat loads of it. And I did. I used to, there was times where I managed to eat a full one of these things, which is why Jason found his way to 14.5 stone. So yeah, there are, that's an example of negative ways to use, to implement a takeaway, that reactiveness, rather than it being proactive, as in Saturday night, let's get an Indian. Like, do you know what? Now that I've been talking about this, a couple of weeks ago, the Indian that we go to, Classic India, I discovered curry calzone pizzas. And I got a chicken tikka korma. Chicken tikka korma calzone. And oh my golly gosh, it was phenomenal. So now that I've had that thought, that makes me want to do that this weekend, although I've just remembered I'm going to the cinema on Saturday with the kids and we're going to eat out then. But that's now got me thinking, do you know what, I would like to have that again soon. So I will plan that in and have it at some point, rather than waiting for that moment to come along where I can justify it and say, right, fuck it, I'm ordering a takeaway because the kids are driving me nuts. I've had a tough day at work. I've had a stressful week. I've been stuck in the house all day. When you use these negative reasons to justify it, then it's only ever going to lead to a negative outcome. It will be great at the time and it will taste great and you'll still get that enjoyment and excitement and all the rest of it from ordering. But, if you've listened to the episode about the 3 parts of enjoyment, most people miss out on the third part of enjoyment of most things, where you enjoy the idea of it, the thought of it, the build-up, part 1. You enjoy the thing itself, part 2. And part 3 is the part that most people miss out on, which is the ability to enjoy the memory of the thing. And if you are sitting there feeling full, sluggish, horrible after eating something, you've only had the benefit of the first 2 parts of enjoyment. Now you're left with the absence of the third part, where you quite often, like I said, sitting after one of these meals thinking, why did I eat that? Why did I eat all of that? Why did I finish that off? Why did I even order a takeaway? I've still got that stuff in the fridge that's going out of date that I'm now going to have to throw out. I wish I had just made that instead. So yeah, takeaways, it's not something that we're ever going to be able to change the way that, people view them and think about them. But for the few of you that do listen to this, hopefully this helps. Stop making them out to be more than they are. They are just your dinner, cooked by someone else, delivered or picked up and brought home. And that's it. Treat it the same way that you would any other meal. Provided that all your other meals, you are approaching them in a sensible and mindful way. But yeah, don't put them on a pedestal. Don't feel the need to finish them off just because you've spent X amount of money. Don't hold on to the containers all night and keep going back to pick at them. Like, don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do with a meal that you would cook at home. In that way, Number one, you can start to actually enjoy the thing, fully enjoy the thing. You'll feel much better afterwards. You'll start building a much better relationship with them. You'll have a much more positive experience. And you can actually start to enjoy this thing. We should enjoy all the food that we eat. It shouldn't be, our enjoyment shouldn't be hampered by the way that we choose to behave and act around these things. So anyway, enough of my ramblings. I hope that's been helpful. But it comes up so often at check-ins, like, oh, I had a takeaway and I feel so awful after it. I don't know why I keep ordering them. It's like, no, you feel awful because you turn into a completely different person when you have a takeaway. And you overeat. That's the reason for it. So, go out, enjoy your takeaways, treat them as you would do any other meal, and you'll be able to enjoy them even more. You'll be able to actually fully enjoy them and get those 3 parts of enjoyment. Until next time.